Welcome to another week of Mixing It Up with Pete and Maureen. We're a married couple. We meet every week and we discuss what's on the top of our head. And sometimes out of somewhere else. And always straight from the heart. And you may be wondering why Pete has a muzzle on this week. Because he was a bad boy, and I'm putting him in timeout for a little while. If he behaves himself, we may ungag him. What do you think? Last week, you may have noticed we were talking about our childhood memories in the pre-digital age and the kind of things that occupied us as kids. And every time he would ask me a question and I'd start to answer, he would jump in and override and want to talk about something that he did. Yeah. And all of a sudden, we try to be mindful of your time and we try not to make these podcasts run too long. All of a sudden, he's running the exit theme. And I looked, time was up, yeah. And I look at my list and we get all done and it's like, but we didn't mention this and we didn't mention that. And so this week I decided I'm hijacking the show. All right, listen. Can you be good? What? I'll let you take it out of your mouth for now. But if you don't behave, it's going right back in.
That was now. I hope I didn't use this to clean the toilet or something. This towel. Boy, did that taste nasty.
Well, I'm having pity on you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime. So, some of the things that we didn't get to talk about last time. Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't throw that far away. I may want it back.
Oh no, we're throwing it that far away.
When I was a kid, I grew up in a neighborhood with a playground right around the corner from us. And during the day, they had camp counselors there. And there was a guy that would always organize sports activities. And he'd be doing tetherball and kickball and all those kind of things that we talked about with the sports-wise. And then there would be a girl who would do the arts and crafts. And for a small charge, you could make bracelets or make things out of popsicle sticks or do painting and things like that. So during the day, we would go there and do that. And at night, the park closed. It was locked up. And we would go around and sneak in, either climbing the fence or going through a hole in the fence and go around and collect all the stuff the kids dropped. Because when you're stringing beads and things like that, there's always some on the ground. And we would get a whole supply together, and we would go home and we would play park, and we would become the counselors. We would be in charge. We would string beads. We would make things out of popsicle sticks, and we would save our own popsicle sticks too from any ice pops and things that we had. We'd wash them off and we'd save them and we'd make all kinds of great things out of it, and that kept us occupied a lot. We had swings in my backyard, so that was like also an added value to the experience. And another thing, and this might be something that you might have done too, we would play camping and we'd make tents. You talked about making forts.
We made forts. Never made a tent. I don't think we ever made a tent.
But I think it's the same kind of idea that you wanted some kind of a place to hunker down and to kind of be like a little hidden oasis, a place to play. We played with tents, but they were never elaborate. We would drape blankets over a table or over a couple of chairs, but it was great fun. We would go out there and we'd bring our lunch. My mom would pack us a sandwich in a bag, and we'd go out and eat outside like as if we were having a picnic at a campfire, and that would keep us occupied for hours on end too.
Now, was there ever anybody who did not bring enough snack and somebody else had to be the hero and give them part of their snack?
No, because we all brought for ourselves. We didn't share. What?
Because remember there was that Little Rascals episode?
Yeah.
When they ran away to Cherry Creek.
Yes.
And Little Spanky and Scotty,
he
brought the big thing of jelly and the bread, and the boys, the older boys,
forgot.
Didn't bring anything.
They forgot to
and
pack
they wound up sharing, or they got mobbed, I guess, by the older boys to get the jam and the bread.
Yeah. No, we just did our own thing, and that was how we passed our time in the summer, especially. Did you ever invent stuff?
I did, but I would like invent crazy stuff. Like
what?
I also had a swing set in the backyard, and much to my mother and father's dismay, little Peter, who was into all things electronic and electrical, decided that he was going to build a substation, a power substation.
Oh, okay.
Out of it. And so I had like all these wires that I had hanging from the swing set. And
I bet that looked great.
It was crazy. And I took like my father's sprinkler and I had it like hanging from wires and stuff. And my mother was like, "What are you doing out there, Peter? What are you doing you're making my house look like a gypsy house, Peter." That she used to say that.
I can imagine.
And I take your father's sprinkler down. I'm like, "Nope, that's an insulator.
Ooh.
That's a high voltage insulator. I can't." So I would do like crazy stuff like that.
No, well, me and some of my friends, we pictured ourselves as future chemists of America, and we were going to invent things. And our favorite thing would be to go into the bathroom medicine chest and not take anything medical or drugs or anything, but we would take shaving cream. We would take lotions, toothpaste, anything like that you could, use in quantity. And we would mush it together, and we would add tissues to it and make this paste and almost make like a paper mache thing. And we just came up with all these crazy things. And the one time we invented something that sort of worked was we took a piece of chalk, white side, like blackboard chalk, and we wanted to make colored chalk. So we wrapped it in crepe paper, because we realized that when crepe paper gets wet, the dye comes off. So we wrapped it in crepe paper and we dipped it in water and let the dye soak into the chalk. And when it all dried, very, very faintly, if we wrapped it in blue, we could write blue. But it only lasted until that layer of the chalk got used up, and then it was back to white again. That was our close thing.
I did do experiments in the bathroom, and I would do the same thing. I would take the cleanser, the Comet cleanser, and my father's shaving cream and the aftershave, and I would mix it all together, and then I'd throw it out. And my mother would be off in the living room watching her stories.
Okay, her soaps.
Yeah, her Love of Life, Secret Storm, Edge of Night, and she never got up.
Yeah.
Because God forbid you might miss a sudden affair or divorce or something on the TV show. But she would be like, "Peter, what are you doing back there? What are you doing in that bathroom?" And I would just say, "I'm experimenting. I'm experimenting." And eventually she would come in and be like, "Well, you better get that cleaned up before your father comes home." Or something, But I never blew anything up.
Oh, we never did either. and God bless Mrs. Weimer, our neighbor across the street. Her daughter Dorothy and I were friends, and we would often use her stuff. And she never blinked an eye. As long as we were happy and having a good time and, didn't burn down the house or something, she just let us go. But we used up more of her stuff than I can imagine.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm in the bathroom and I'm playing with cleanser and God knows what. And my mother never seemed to be overly concerned that I could poison myself playing with this stuff or, drink. I think maybe she had the sense to know that I wasn't stupid enough to try and drink this stuff. Hi, I just invented a new soft drink.
It bubbles. It must be good.
And Peter's getting his stomach pumped 20 minutes later.
But I actually even had a chemistry set that I got as a gift.
Yeah.
And I had my own microscope, too. Talk about nerdy. But that was a lot of fun. And my cousin Michelle was also one of my cohorts in crime on the inventing genre.
See, my mother did not want me to have a chemistry set. That I do know. And my buddy Ed across the street had one. So I would go over to his house and we would do stuff down in his basement. But if I had said to my mom, I want a chemistry set. You'd be, no, you're going to blow the house up, Peter.
Well, I don't think
You're
my
gonna
mother really wanted me.
I don't want you blowing the house up.
Yeah, I don't think my mother really wanted me to have one. Maybe I don't even know where I got it. I think maybe a relative gave it to me or whatever. But the only thing was that when I got it, she cautioned me, because it came with experiments and it gave you like a book of directions and, put this and that. And she'd be like, just do what it says there. Don't go outside the box, because you never know what that stuff can do.
I think I had an erector set. And I know I had like Tinker Toy.
Oh, yeah.
Tinker Toy used to be a lot of fun.
Any of those building blocks, Lincoln Logs, Tinker Toys.
Yeah, I think somebody gave me Lincoln Logs, but I never played with them.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan, but we did have them.
Tinker Toy used to be
Tinker
fun.
Toy, yeah. Yeah, and I used to have these plastic bricks, like that interlocked, sort of like a precursor, I guess, to Legos, but a little bit more uniform in size, and you could, make little houses and things like that.
You know what I used to build with Tinker Toys? Guess.
Radio stations.
Yeah, radio towers.
Ta-da!
I'd make a big tower. That was my radio tower.
Well, there you go. Now, the other thing that we had talked about off the air and we didn't get to include in our show, cardboard boxes.
Oh.
Were they
Are you
the best
kidding me?
or what?
Fun for days.
Absolutely. And all different sizes. Now, the best would be, I would say, like a refrigerator box or some really big appliance that somebody got. Those were few and far between, but if you got one of those, that was a score. We, as girls, we would make, clubhouses or playhouses out of them. I understand you did other things. Whoopsie. Hit the microphone, Maureen. That's all right. Go ahead. I'll let you talk.
I would flatten it out. Well, there were stages. While the box was still good and firm, I would stand it up and I would cut a hole in the middle like a TV screen, and we would climb inside the box, and we would pretend that we were on television.
Okay.
Then as more and more people used the box and it kind of got a little more beat up and a little wonkier, we'd flatten it out, and my house, the front lawn was like a hill.
Okay.
So we would take the box and we would use it for kind of like body surfing down the front lawn because it would slide.
Oh, I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah.
That would have been fun.
Probably wouldn't go well today if I tried.
You don't think so,
that,
huh?
no, I think bones could be broken.
Probably. No, the other thing, when you were talking about cutting out the hole in it, the other thing we would do is we had dolls and puppets, and we would put on little puppet shows, and that was our puppet theater too. But more often than not, we would just decorate it. We'd make windows in it and, draw on the outside and make it look like it had shutters and window boxes and things like that. And, stay inside and be like a little house. Sometimes we got
I think that's a girl thing.
I would think so.
I don't know too many guys that are going, hey, I'm building a house here. Let's put some window boxes in.
Well,
we
it's your
made,
loss.
We made it was a clubhouse.
Yeah.
We made a clubhouse.
Well, it was your loss. The other thing we used to like was when we'd go to the supermarket, and they used to have in the back of the supermarket outside, they would throw out the boxes that the produce and the different things came in. And if you got a couple of those boxes and brought them home, if they were big enough for you to sit in, we made little cars. And we would decorate them as if they were automobiles. And, we would sit in them. And I remember the one time we all lined up our box cars.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there as if we're at a drive-in movie. We're not looking at anything, but we just imagined it.
Yeah.
And
But they didn't have wheels on them, right?
No. It just sat in them.
Yeah.
Sat there, pretended like we had a steering wheel. And, sometimes we would draw a speedometer or a gas gauge or a radio or something inside, and we would just sit there. We'd make headlights on the outside, taillights on the back, make license plates on it, and there we would sit.
But the wonderful thing about it was that it was all imagination.
It was. Absolutely.
It didn't come off of a 4-inch television screen or a telephone screen.
No, and it didn't cost anything.
No.
it was something that was an equalizer. We could all play together. Didn't matter whose parents had money, whose didn't. It didn't matter, what neighborhood you're in. Everybody could play these games, and everybody could participate.
Although you did have that club.
Well, okay, except
In
Marie.
in the last podcast, we did uncover the fact that you had a club and you had to be a Maplewood resident.
And
Marie's house was on the South Orange side of the line, and so sorry.
Sorry. Well, that's the kid of it. But now I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Oh, no. Perish the thought.
No. But these were just some things like when we got all done, and I was looking at the list, I was like, we didn't even get to half of this stuff. So those were the kinds of things that I felt like we lost out on from last week's show.
And the thing is, when that stuff got worn out, you just threw it out.
Yeah. And
because it was junk to begin with, you know?
Right. One man's trash is another
man's treasure. So are you happy now?
I'm ecstatically
You do feel
happy.
that
I'm validated.
You're validated
and you were a good boy. We took you out of timeout. And hopefully he's learned his lesson and he will never again interrupt me.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. This is Mixing It Up with Pete and Maureen, and I'm Pete Torriello.
And I'm Maureen Torriello.
And we'll see you again next time. Until then, goodbye, God bless you, and thank you
for listening.
Thank you for listening.